You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How we doing? You know, Caitlin Clark suspension, that's going to be guaranteed. That's a guaranteed suspension. It's going to come Caitlin Clark's way. And, you know, the WNBA, I think you get 5. Number 6, you're going to get suspended. I figured that, I figured she'd reach this point. And, the WNBA officials, I'll tell you something here. It gets a little quirky in this league. And the way they do it and how they do it and what's the fire point and what the WNBA is doing. It just gets so doggone physical in the WNBA. It just get too doggone physical. And when you get this physical, they're going to issue technical fouls. And now what Caitlin got slammed for a technical foul really was kind of interesting because she was just kind of banging a post. But you want to here's what was funny to me, and I really enjoyed it. I looked up and I said, okay, well, the NBA, man, they let them run. The NBA, you're going to get suspension after 5 in the WNBA. In the NBA, I mean, here's the structure. 1 through 5 technicals, you get 16 total, okay? And the WNBAs get 5. They should at least get 8, but in here, you're going to get 16 total. And here's the deal that's happening, what I see. You get it to where NBA is going to say, we'll run you out 6 through 10, 10,000. You go 11 through 15. And by then you get to a 5,000 and a 1-game suspension after 16 technicals. Now, if you look at that, the NBA guys let it rip. I mean, they let it rip. I mean, they might not go around and say some of the things and do some of the things that the other players are willing to do. But when you get to Caitlin Clark, that's a different story. And this is the reason why it's a different story. Caitlin Clark plays in the zone. She's in the zone when she plays. So, for Caitlin, she's got to come out of that zone. And for her to play the way Caitlin plays and her reaction when she comes out of that zone, it's nothing nice. It's a little vicious. It's a little disturbing. Only reason I say that is because some of the things that the WNBA players say to officials. Now, you never want them. They're close to the NFL, really, about getting mic'd up. You never want to mic up NFL players during the game. And you never really want to mic up WNBA players. Folks, I try to read the translations because it's important to me. Some of the things that do get said, okay, to WNBA officials. Now, here you got the Michigan man, Rich Eisen, right? You got Michigan, man. Rich Eisen is like, you know what? He's just like the WNBA referees are disrespectful to Caitlin Clark, right? He's really making a statement. He's saying it's kind of crazy how they make these calls and what they do, but you got to put some truth behind it because, when you get to Rich Eisen, I mean, Rich Eisen's been around a long time, been in the media, and he's really saying, why is Caitlin Clark getting technicals, getting fouls? And you got to look at it and you got to be honest with yourself because I always knew that I always commended Lisa Bluter. And let me tell you why I always commend Lisa Bluter. Lisa Bluter was able to keep a cap on Caitlin Clark. Okay, that was the home run right there. And Lisa Bluter worked really hard, really, really hard, making sure, okay, that Caitlin could stay calm. Because when Caitlin plays, she plays so hard, okay, that when the WNBA official does something that's just ridiculous, she's like, what, you lost your mind? And there was a play just the other day, and kudos to Kelsey Mitchell. Kelsey Mitchell jumped up in the air, and she really jumped up in the air and pretended like she was shooting a shot. And she did all the action. It was in the air before she landed. And when Kelsey Mitchell landed to the floor, the WNBA officials called traveling. And I was like, well, how can that be traveling? Okay, when she never ever established her pivot. She did the move while she caught the ball in the air, up in the air. So you can't really travel if you never landed with the ball. But they called traveling nevertheless. And some of the calls, I mean, the difference between the WNBA and the NBA, I'll tell you. In the WNBA, when you look at Caitlin Clark, you can lose an arm in the WNBA. I'm just going to be honest. Folks, I know that may be hard for you to believe, but you can lose an arm playing in the WNBA. I want you to think about that. Because the officials let them play, and they let them play beyond the limits of the game. I mean, I've seen play. I really took offense the other day. Why did I take offense? I seen a player, Brittany Griner, take a guard from the Chicago Sky and flat out push her all the way back, okay, into the actual Camila Cardoso was going to score. And I said, nobody's going to call that. So the officials are just on a different path. Okay, Rich Eisen pointed out, and it's kind of getting a little bit out of control. And when you look at what they're doing and how they're doing it and how they're calling the game, I get let the players play, but that's beyond letting the players play. That's just taking it to a whole nother level. And you're saying to yourself, well, it doesn't really matter. We're just letting them play it out. But when you let these guys play it out, one thing you're going to do, you're going to get confrontation, and you're going to get confrontation coming in there. And the confrontation is going to be different because the players are kind of more vocal than, most people may know. And sometimes they do some things and they're looking at the officials like, what are you guys, stupid? Okay. I mean, this is what happens. And you got to know this coming in that it's tough treading in there. Okay. For the WNBA officials when they call these games, because there's so many missed calls. And when you get that many missed calls in a basketball game, at some point it's got to level itself out, or you're going to have players saying things that are just out of control. And I've heard some of the things that the WNBA players, have said to the officials. You never want to mic that up because that will set a fire off that nobody wants to hear. And here's the reason why. I mean, they just tell them flat out in a very, 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 not so common way that you're terrible. I mean, and when you do that, you got to look at that and say, Caitlin Clark is guaranteed a suspension. I'm going to say that now. Caitlin Clark is guaranteed a suspension. There's no way Caitlin Clark can avoid it because now the WNBA officials have reached the limit. And again, the NBA players get 16 technical fouls, okay? The WNBA players get 5, number 6, you're suspended. I don't know why that they're playing more than half, so they should be at 8. But you know what? I think Caitlin Clark's guaranteed to get that because Caitlin Clark plays the game in the zone. And when she plays the game in the zone, it's kind of hard to pull her out of that. It's going to be hard to have her change. It's going to be hard to have her, move into a different position. Even Christie Sides won't be able to protect her on this one because it's just not possible. And Caitlin's going to get it. I mean, you got to know that Caitlin's going to be Caitlin. And you know what? I mean, Caitlin's on the level of an NBA player. Every time an NBA player does something, they're going to complain about the call. Well, when you get in there and you get into Christie Sides and everything that Christie Sides is going to try to do, she could try to stop it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, she could try to stop it. But I don't think she can stop it only because it's just not possible because of what she does and how she plays the game. She plays it in the zone. And when you play a game in the zone, you're just going to get caught. And when you get caught, you're going to get hammered. When you get hammered, you got to deal with it. Now, of course, Christie Sides is thinking, okay, I could do this. Sending a strong message to Caitlin. Urges caution, more fouls. That's just the way Caitlin plays. And when you want to talk about Lisa Bluter did a great job with Caitlin Clark because Lisa Bluter could keep a lid on it. And now you look at Christie Sides, that move is changing because they're going to get more and more critical on Caitlin Clark. They're going to try to send a message, the officials. So that's a guaranteed suspension on my end. I don't think she can avoid it. I think it's going to happen, and it's just part of the game with Caitlin Clark because that's just who she is. She's not changing her game, okay? She's going to play it. What does it hurt? It hurts the fans, okay, who are paying money to see Caitlin Clark. They're going to want to see her on the floor, and they don't want anything to stop that from happening, and that's what the WNBA officials have in their hand. So may there be some more leniency? Maybe so, maybe not. I think it's guaranteed Caitlin Clark will get suspended, and we'll miss at least a game, if not 2. It's just the way she plays it. She plays it in the zone, and when she has to come out of that or a bad call or anything like that happens, I mean, it's just going to hit the fan. That's just the way she plays it. And I told you, she's got an NBA point guard's mentality, a men's mentality. She's applying pressure, and that's just the way Caitlin is. And Caitlin's not changing. Caitlin's not changing for anybody or changing anything that she does. Caitlin's going to be Caitlin, and that's just the way it is. It's always been that way. Her dad has told her repeatedly, lighten up on officials, but it's tough to do between the 94 feet on the court because Caitlin Clark is going after him. She's drawing blood out of him. Okay, but that's just the way her heart pumps. That's how she plays. And for the Indiana Fever, that's what made them who they are. Okay, and you got to accept that. So you might as well, let's see, Kathy, here, Kathy, you might as well go ahead and look at changing that. 5 is too low. Playing 44 games, you might as well kick it up to 8 and let the players get their voice out because they're going to go ahead and do it. Christie Sides, you can bring all the strong messages you want, but your job is not to stop the player. Your job is to support the player. So, at some point, I'd like to see Christie Sides come on in there and do something good because Christie Sides needs to support her player and not go against it, okay? You need to say, hey, they need to get on the officials to do it right. You take your fine and you move on, but you got to support your player. And I understand you got a rookie player and a rookie coach, but the deal is you got to support your player here, and you got to make sure you stand behind your player, okay? And that's something Christie Sides is forever stepping in the mud at the media, okay? As when you try to go, Caitlin, you back and forth. It's not worth it. You got to just stand up and say, I think Caitlin's been playing good. I think the officials are wrong. That's what's got to be important. Because you got to know at the end of the day, okay, that this is who your player is. And when you know who your player is, you got to stand with them and you got to ride with them and say, hey, you know what? I back my player. And that's what Christie Sides got to do as a championship coach. It's on the job training for Christie Sides. But guess what, folks? It'll flatten itself out. The bottom line is the WNBA. I mean, how do you get yourself in this position? Well, you're in it now. And at the end of the day, is it going to cost someone a sellout? I would say not. They're still going to watch it. They're going to win the game. Yeah, they could probably win the game. It may be tough on who they play because it'll be selective because any WNBA official can give Caitlin Clark a suspension. Any WNBA officials in her next game can give her a suspension. That's a bad spot to be. And who's going to be the lucky winner? Who's going to be the one that punches that technical and says you're suspended? And then what happens after that? Double technical, do you get suspended 2, 3, 4 more games, okay? So it is what it is. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. We're powered up by Fanatics. We're going to put it out there early. We guarantee Caitlin Clark will get suspended. That's 100% because she plays the game in the zone. She plays the game in a hard, strong place. She has a mentality of an NBA point guard, and she's applying pressure at all times, which means the game gets heightened up and she will respond to officials' call if the official's out of line. There's no doubt about it. So you got to live with it, go with it. And the Indiana Fever are rocking and rolling. They're built up, so they got to get ready for this. Christie Sides has got to get ready for it, really, because Christie Sides is sitting there going, you know what, I'm gonna have to win some games without Caitlin. And like I said, Christie Sides hot seat. You're going to find out more about Christie Sides as the season goes along because she's going to have to do some things that she just hasn't done, and that's coach them up, okay? And you may have to coach them up without Caitlin Clark. So when that does happen, that's guaranteed she's going to drop a game because I don't see Caitlin Clark going a whole season, okay, the remainder of the season without a technical. I just think that's hard to do, folks. But it is what it is. We back it up with the NBA suspension. They give the men 16. They got to balance this out. Got to give the women at least 8. I think this one's after 5. But, the guys pay a little more fines as they go up. I mean, you're making, let's say it, $10 million a year. Doesn't really matter. Okay, top pays $60 million in fines. I mean, that's chump change. Really should give all the technicals that happen in the NBA. All those should go to the women's salaries in the WNBA. I repeat, I'm going to put it out there. All the technical fouls that go from the NBA players should go to the salaries of the WNBA players. And if you put that money to the salaries, man, the players' salaries would go up really high, really fast. I'm just pushing for more money for the players. And of course, I want them all to succeed. I know Caitlin Clark's going to be Caitlin. That's just the way the game is played. And when you've been around a while, you just got to let it all happen. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. We'll close up guaranteeing Caitlin Clark will get at least a one-game suspension. That's unavoidable. And, the thing about it is the WNBA is just the WNBA. The players on the court say some things that can't be mic'd up to the referees, but that's basketball at the height of the best. So you'll continue down, I guarantee it, and we will see you soon. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast.